CNN's Caitlin Collins hits back at Trump attorney's claim in intense interview. Immunity is not actually in the Constitution. Caitlin Collins. So, do you disagree with Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who said what you're arguing could allow the seat of a presidency to become where you can act with impunity, that any criminal act couldn't happen because you have nothing to fear, no prosecution? Will Scharf. We believe immunity is inherent in the Constitution design. So that's the system we've been operating under for hundreds of years, Caitlin Collins. But immunity is not actually in the Constitution. Will Scharf. Well, we believe that immunity naturally follows the Constitution. Well, we believe that immunity naturally follows from the Constitution. The same way that civil immunity, which isn't written in the Constitution, actually follows from our constitutional system. And that was recognized by the court in Nixon v. Fitzgerald in 1982. Caitlin Collins. What is victory here? Is it the Supreme Court embracing your argument on total immunity? Or is it just sending it back to the lower court and therefore delaying the January 6th trial from happening before the 2024 election? Will Scharf. We think it's very important for the future of the presidency for the court to embrace a vigorous doctrine of presidential immunity in the criminal context. But will you still consider Will Scharf again? To us, that's what victory looks like. Caitlin Collins. Will you still consider it a victory if they just send it back to the lower court and then it essentially delays the trial? We believe that what's going on here, this is Will Scharf again, is much more important than this particular trial or this particular defendant. We believe that what's at stake here is the future of the presidency. And without a vigorous immunity doctrine, I fear for the future of this country. Number one, Donald Trump did nothing wrong. There is no crime for him to be charged with. I'll go over this again. He slept with a porn star, Sloppy Daniels. He falsified documents because he slept with a porn star and he was running for president at the time, having porn star hush money on a business document for reimbursing a lawyer doesn't look very good, especially when you're running for president. Number two, he did not take any classified documents. He's the president. He was the president at the time, and he could declassify them at any time, which he did. And now number three. January 6th was not a violent insurrection. In fact, Donald J. Trump told his supporters to peacefully and patriotically protest and make your voices heard. Here's Google's definition of insurrection. Insurrection. An organized and usually violent act of revolt or rebellion against an established government or governing authority of a nation, state, or other political entity by a group of its citizens or subjects. Also, any act of engaging in such a revolt. The definition of governing. Having authority to conduct the policy, actions, and affairs of a state, organization, or people. The definition of organization. An organized body of people with a particular purpose, especially a business, society, association. I'll tell you what an actual insurrection is. When violence broke out at dueling pro-Israel and pro-Palestine protests on UCLA campus. The insurrection started when a pro-Palestinian demonstrator, a real insurrection started when a pro-Palestinian demonstrator breached the physical barrier. Not only did the pro-Palestinian demonstrator breach a barrier, that's accounted to criminal trespassing and aggravated assault on a police officer. Aggravated assault and battery on a police officer. That is an actual insurrection that took place in an actual organization, UCLA. Joe Biden actually raped Tara Reade, who was an intern for the White House at the time, and he lied about it. Also, Joe Biden stole documents, which he could not declassify because he was not president at the time he stole the documents. And he also said he couldn't remember stealing the documents because he was with some people who took the documents and just put them in boxes, and he wasn't paying attention. You know what else isn't in the Constitution? Lying about a former president, about what he says and about what he does, non-stop. Caitlin Collins, instead of scouring the Constitution for words that don't exist, you should probably take another look at the journalist's creed. If you don't know what that is, I believe in the profession of journalism. I believe that the public journal is a public trust, that all connected with it are, to the full measure of their responsibility, trustees for the public. That acceptance of a lesser service than the public service is betrayal of this trust. I believe that clear thinking and clear statement, accuracy and fairness are fundamental to good journalism. I believe that a journalist should only write what he holds in his heart to be true. I believe that suppression of the news for any consideration other than the welfare of society is indefensible. I believe that no one should write as a journalist what he would not say as a gentleman. That bribery by one's own pocketbook is as much to be avoided as bribery by the pocketbook of another. That individual responsibly may not be escaped by heeding another's instructions or another's dividends. I believe that advertising, news, and editorial columns should alike serve the best interests of readers, that a single standard of helpful truth and cleanness should prevail for all. That the supreme test of good journalism is the measure of its public service. I believe that the journalism that succeeds best deserves success, fears God and honors man, is stoutly independent, unmoved by pride of opinion or greed of power, constructive, tolerant, but never careless, self-controlled, patient, always respectful of its readers but always unafraid, is quickly indignant at injustice, is unswayed by the appeal of privilege or the clamor of the mob, seeks to give every man a chance, and as far as law, an honest wage and recognition of human brotherhood can make it so, an equal chance, is profoundly patriotic, and sincerely promoting international good, will, and cementing world comradeship, is a journalism of humanity, of and for today's world. I can tell you right now, that's definitely not Caitlin Collins. Remember the town hall she did with Trump? Why did it take you almost 3 hours for you to respond about the January 6th? And then he whipped out the paper. It was from January 5th, telling everybody to peacefully protest. She really thought that Trump wasn't going to come prepared for that. Well, she didn't actually think that because she didn't think about it. And that's why she just blurted that out. And that's where the mob comes in. Because she blurted that out in hopes that she was hoping that the liberal mob of NPC Trump haters would applaud. But Trump got the applause. What about this? Over 100 migrants break through razor wire, knock down guards as they illegally cross El Paso border in wild scene. What about that insurrection? That was orchestrated by Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas. More of Joe Biden. Why would they break through the razor wire? Why are they trying to rush in as quickly as possible? Well, because Joe Biden, before he was president, he said, come to the border, surge the border. And that's what they're doing, it seems like, every day. Joe Biden or Alejandro Mayorkas didn't get in trouble for that. My point is, if you want to have Trump thrown in jail or disqualified from being the president for crimes, I mean, they're really more of decisions, if anything. He decided to declassify those documents because he was the president at the time. He could do that. He decided that on January 5th, he was going to tell all of his supporters to peacefully and patriotically protest and make their voices heard because, well, the 2020 election, fake pipe bursting, the USB that was being plugged into the machine, the USBs, I should say, plugged into the machine with all those fraudulent Democrat voters, the dead people voting, the bins of ballots that were taken out by all the vote counters, people sending ballots through the mail, but their addresses are actually empty parking lots or like an office building. The person's not even there. There was so many flaws with the 2020 election and downright cheating. And Trump knew that, so that's why he told his supporters to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard so they could maybe attempt to change Mike Pence's mind and he would have overturned the certification. That's why he decided to do that. And last but not least, he decided to have sex with the porn star Sloppy Daniels. It's all different. Joe Biden didn't decide to declassify those documents because he can't. He couldn't declassify them. He was the vice president when he wasn't even vice president. He was a senator. He just took documents. That wasn't a decision, that was a crime since he could not declassify them. Tara Reade was a White House intern at the time. Again, Joe Biden committed a crime when he raped her. He was a senator, he had a lot of power. And Tara Reade, like I said before, just an intern. Clearly a power dynamic there. So again, that was a crime, not a decision. You have to show the same level of intensity towards someone else who committed actual crimes. I never heard Caitlin Collins once, or any of these liberal pundits once, have I heard any mainstream media pundit ask if Joe Biden should be arrested or disqualified from running again for president because of his transgender supporters storming the Capitol, the Oklahoma State Capitol building. If you want to throw Donald Trump in jail or disqualify him for being president, disqualify him from running as president again, or just remove his name from the ballot, or do whatever you want to do, Joe Biden is just a far worse human being than Donald Trump could ever be.